Hour number 2, Big D Energy, Darren McCarty, Sean Belagian, gang is all here. I like when you come up with questions like this. Can we get to your question, Spenny? I like when you come up with questions. It's fun to talk about.
Yeah.
And listen, I know that J-Mo, for whatever reason, is a powder keg. Like, I know there are people sitting there right now, watching this, watching Darren, watching me. The one thing that I do not think Jameson Williams will ever live up to, and I'm serious, is his draft position. I get it. If you're one of those people, you're draft value. I don't think he's ever going to live up to that. I don't, because I think what you're asking him to be on this football team would come at the detriment of this football team. So that doesn't make any sense to me, but I think this goes back to our wide receiver conversation yesterday, right?
Yeah.
Mac, in my mind, I think there's a top tier. I think there are two guys that you could say are head and shoulders, maybe not head and shoulders, but if you want to use the E word, elite in the National Football League today. There's Justin Jefferson and there's Tyreek Hill. And then there's a group underneath that, and I personally think Amon-Ra St. Brown is in that group. But if you're one of those guys that sits back and says, you have to be this if you're drafted there, I don't think you're ever going to be pleasured by Jameson Williams.
You guys are missing the point. He's a game changer.
Yep.
You need those to win to be a Super Bowl caliber team, to be able to spark you like he did in the NFC Championship against the best team in the NFC, who you're going to have to probably go through to win. His draft, it's a caveat piece. It's never looked at stats-wise. It's looked at team-wise. Can this guy that you picked 12th overall and moved up be a difference in winning you a Super Bowl? 100 million%.
Yep.
100 million%. He brings this something, which is speed. You mentioned it in hockey where it's a killer, plus whatever else he's done. And we haven't seen him in full ensemble display. That's the one thing I'm excited about, is that training camp healthy, getting in the reps healthy. Now we can seriously implement what Ben Johnson wants to do with him. We saw caveats of that, but he's like a game changer. He, like, who is the other guy in the league that you see like this in a Tyreek Hill? Now he's a different player than that, but the speed is unmatched. And what do we hear? We see him catching balls 5 yards away from a defender. Mm-hmm. How many times do you see that? You don't see that in the NFL as much. So I just think he's a caveat. I don't care if his stats, if it's whatever it is to his position that he's picked. That guy picked at that position is a game changer to win you a Super Bowl, period.
You don't have teammates sell guys like that. You don't. And the fact that his teammates are selling him, and again, I don't know if you know this, I'm sitting next to a former professional athlete. Tell me about this Pavel Datsyuk guy, right? That was a reaction from everybody. People don't know, man. People, you're all going to find out. You don't write checks like that unless the boys really feel it.
I was just going to say, I got a better angle of the Kirby Joseph, Terrion Arnold, or Kirby Joseph, Malik Neighbors scuffle.
Let's see it.
This is
So
great.
it started with a Terrion Arnold breakup, walking back.
Yeah!
Neighbors pops him in the face. Kirby pieces him up a couple times. And then look at number 0 right there in the middle.
Terrion.
The rookie. He's trying to break it up. He's trying to pull the guys off of each other. But yeah,
Love to see it,
we
man.
see...
Replay that.
Yeah.
Just replay that.
Look at Malik Neighbor.
What the fuck do you think's going to happen when you do something like
Boom.
that?
Got it.
There's one.
Wait,
Boom.
there's for
There's
you.
two.
Like, honestly,
There's
there's
three.
for
He
you.
looking like D-Mac out there. Feast his ass.
Kirby
man.
gone with at least 3.
Yes.
And then you got the rookie trying to pull people apart.
Love it, man.
All together.
Yeah, what do you think's going to happen? Mac, you brought up a great point. You know what? For years, guys like me, when I did draft shows, for years, guys like me lost our collective minds when the Lions made a, are you ready? This is a blast from the past, luxury pick. The Detroit Lions are a franchise that is not in a position to take a luxury pick. Not when we have needs here, needs here, needs here, needs here. You know what? Jameson Williams was a luxury pick. and a damn explosive luxury pick. And this is the dynamic that I'm going with. Like, again, nobody in this town has the credit line that Brad Holmes has right now, including Steve. Nobody has that credit line right now.
Yeah.
Okay? If this guy, who we all know, wasn't looking at the next year, but looking beyond the next year, playing chess, looking 2 or 3 years from now, like Steve Yzerman is, his flowers are coming. You know that. But if this guy, who we all trust, anybody out there want to say, get in line and say, I don't trust Brad Holmes? Didn't think so. But if this guy can look ahead 2-3 years, as he did from the second he made the Matthew Stafford deal, if he can look 2 or 3 years ahead and think about what this guy might be, doesn't that count for something? Right? I mean, it's got to count for something. My goodness gracious. So there's nothing with this team. If we just got done out of one side of our mouth saying, boy, this team doesn't have many weaknesses, right?
Yeah.
We all went around the room. We all admitted maybe we're nitpicking a little bit, but they don't have any weaknesses. But then is a luxury pick and an explosive one at that, is that a bad thing? So I get it. Some of you are never going to be satisfied because I'm convinced, if I'm wrong, I'll admit it, I'm convinced he's never going to be that guy. He's never going to be 1,500, 15 touchdowns. I couldn't care less. You know what? I want him to bring that explosive nature to the field. Period. And that's where where we're at right now. So, I don't know. There are going to be people out there, Flannel, I don't want to put words in your mouth. If J-Mo is exactly what we think he's going to be. You brought up, Kay.
Yeah.
What would you, 800 yards?
Yeah, 800, maybe 7-8 touchdowns. That's a great season from J-Mo.
You know what? You know as well as I do, people aren't going to confess.
Nah.
Oh, is that what I was supposed to get excited about? Is this what I was? I mean, so I know some of you are never going to be that way, but you give me 800 yards, Fenny.
Yeah.
You give me that explosive change of pace that only a guy like that can bring. I'm with Kate, man. I'll take that all day.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep. He's a guy, I mean, last year he only had 3 touchdowns, 354 yards, but we know the reasons why. Of course, the 4-game suspension at the beginning of the year, but they used him as more of the 3rd or 4th option in this offense. And we all said, if you give the guy more targets, you see what he can do. And as the season went along, you started seeing more that he was more than just the deep threat. He has a full route tree. And in the NFC Championship game, he was the biggest factor on that Lions offense, man. So the thing I fall out with Flannel about is the no training camp victory laps. What's understood doesn't need to be said. I say that a lot. If we all know, like, if he doesn't live up to that, then of course we were all wrong. We can all admit we're wrong. There's no problem with that. But what you see from this guy this year, he looks like a completely different player. And I know it's just training camp, and I know we've only seen short videos and short clips, but to D-Mac's point, the team is backing him up. Dan Campbell is the same coach that came out there and criticized J-Mo when he wasn't doing his best, when he wasn't giving forth the most.
Yeah.
If it's coming from everybody,
hit him with that one again.
Thank you. If it's coming from the same man that criticized him when J-Mo was at his lowest, and he's coming out and telling you that he is a completely changed player, you have to believe that. That's just me, though. I can't do that with everybody. You can lead a horse to water, you can't make him drink.
There's a meme for you, Jesus.
Yep.
Was that on video?
We can get the multicoders.
Yeah, right. It was on wax.
Okay, because let me tell you, I immediately assumed the position in Turtle.
Yeah, right.
When Max started
when
playing
yeah.
I immediately assumed the position and just went like this. I thought a flailing of uppercuts were coming my way.
Amen, Kenny.
I got
Thank you, bro.
Yes.
Like that's the point. Forget all your premonitions or whatever you thought it was.
Yeah.
Now I get it to all you stats guys.
Right.
But is Jameson Williams not the eyeball test of how he's used or whatever? I don't care if he gets, like Sean said, 3 touches, 4 touches. He's gonna make something happen. Mm-hmm. How do I know that? I don't know. Let's just go back to the biggest game. I don't know, NFC Championship game. Who was the best player on your team that made shit happen? That
yeah.
do you?
I know, D.
And I motivated him. And Kenny, the number one thing, right? Like, that's why if you're all in, like for anybody, so you better question Dan Campbell.
Yeah.
All you guys that are questioning is because then you have questions for Dan Campbell that his transparency, that he's not it. Because if you listen, and that's the whole thing, that's what brings me, oh, guys, holy shit. You hear the same guy who criticized him, whatever, and then said, look, he's adhered himself to the herd.
Yeah.
You listen to not the same player. Full camp, the things that we're seeing are right now, it has to transpire. But I believe he's already tested himself at the biggest game in the NFC Championship where he came out.
Yes.
That's just his coming out party.
Yep.
Right. And it would, I feel you. And then,
The Dan Campbell thing is argument number one.
yes.
Argument number
Both of
one.
them, Holmes and Campbell.
Yeah.
Both of them.
And-
If you want to get in that line, you be my guest, man. I'll watch that.
And to me, I would just be more concerned if at the beginning we heard, oh, he's not putting in the work, or, it was a work ethic issue, but it hasn't been that with J-Mo. Even when he wasn't catching passes, he was out there blocking. Even when Dan Campbell came out and spoke negatively about him, it was more so about J-Mo's hands. It wasn't about him going out there and not putting the work in or not trying to be a better player. It was just, hey, he's not catching the ball right now. I don't know if he'll ever be that full-on receiver type guy. Never has been a question from the staff or coaching or teammates about his work ethic.
So here's the thing. Okay, hey, Mike G, right? Where you hear Mike G, hey, man, J-Mo is a brag guy. Listen carefully when Dan speaks. J-Mo is a brag guy, not necessarily a Dan guy. Really? So when Dan Campbell says that he is his guy, are you in then? Is that what you're waiting to hear? Because I will get fucking Broder to propose him the question. Right? And if you see that, it doesn't matter. Get in your boat with flannel, just like everything else. Do your thing.
Yeah.
And then when it comes around and you're getting ready to get your Jameson, you're not allowed. You're not allowed. I don't know why. Why are you going to pick this hill to die on, you guys?
Yeah.
This isn't the hill to die on. Stick with your Goff to die on.
I know we're late, Spenny. Let me get one more point out there because, again, here comes the Legion default mode. Mac, this is like saying, man, I looked at Brett Hull when he came to the 01-02 Wings. I looked at Luke Robitaille when he came to the 01-02 Wings. Boy, what a disappointment both those guys were. I mean, Brett Hull's a perennial 60-goal scorer. Popped 86 just a few years before that. Look at his numbers. Look what Luke Robitaille did in L.A. All those 100-point seasons. What a disappointment when he came to Detroit. He didn't have to be that. He fit in as part of a puzzle. He didn't have to. Hey, listen, newsflash. I saw with my own two eyes Steve Yzerman put up a 155-point season. With my own two eyes. Phenomenal. Every night I was watching crazy things happening. And no disrespect to Spuddy, but he's playing with Gerard Gallant, for goodness sake. Put up a $155. Guess what? He didn't have to do that when we got to a point. And that was the maturation of Steve Yzerman to becoming the great Hall of Fame player that he was. Why be something you don't have to be? And that's what depth will do for you.